So I didn't do anything last year, and I got some cleanup and catch up to do because everything went to seed and I got a mess that I got to deal with. So it's basically going to be utilized because I already have coriander. I've got plenty of lemon balm saved up. I got plenty of sage saved up. Even the comfrey I've got dried and ground up into fine powder. But nothing's going to go to waste, and I'm going to take care of this hot mess and utilize that plant material that's up beside the cabin as green manure, because I do on-site composting. It's a continuous compost system that I do to include my homemade liquid fertilizer. I'm going to be feeding that after I do some extracting because it's stabilized, and I don't want to change the chemistry of that fertilizer and activate it with new microbes. I want to use the fertilizer as the nutrient-based food for my garden and plants when I do some spot feeding. So let me get around here, get off my tail, and get to work because it's going to be a hot one today. And I hope this little phone can stand the heat. Here, this is the hot mess, the chores I'm going to be doing with it today. I'm standing here in the shade. This is upside the cabin. I've built this wall up some, and I said last video that I just gave up on things and let things go. So I got all this cilantro growing everywhere. It's even growing down here. You know, everything went to seed. All that sage, what I'm going to be doing for this composting today. I'm going to be by hand. I'm going to be gently cutting all these flower seed stalks here. And I'm going to be deadheading these flowers. And this lemon balm, that was a mistake not cutting that down last year and letting it go to seed. Because now it's growing like all this yucca that I can't get rid of up in here. I'm going to be taking down this comfrey. I should have done that probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago when it was all perked up and everything. I've already showed it before. I can mow it down to about 2 inches above the ground, and I can do that about 3 times a year. So some more comfrey I'm going to be dealing with here. I got to take care of that. So that's the plant material that we're going to be dealing with. And what we're going to be doing is first of all, I'm going to be putting it in my fertilizer here. And I still got a lot of this JLF, Jadam liquid fertilizer, and it's stabilized. It's been here for about 3 years now. And now that it's stabilized, I'm going to put my hands in it. You people that are worried about the stinkiness and stuff, I can't even smell it. Barely. I'm going to be putting a lot of that comfrey and plant material in there. I'm going to be putting it in these 2 tubs here. And I'm going to be putting it in here. I'm always putting leaves, pine needles, green manure, garden waste, anything like that in all these IBC totes. That is what all these IBC totes predominantly filled with. Okay? All of these, every freaking IBC tote I have done with leaves, pine needles, wood chips, and green manures, food scraps, whatever. Man, this clay is hard. All right, we back on. This comfrey, I'm going to be taking that first. I'm going to be doing that, but I'm not going to be utilizing this, and I'm not going to be pruning it by hand like I showed you, like I would normally do before. Let me stop talking. I forgot how convenient these things can be. Okay, This hasn't went to seed yet, so I've gotten here in time. It's all over the place down here. I'm gonna do the same thing to this lemon balm. If I didn't have this hedgehog thing, I'd just be doing it by hand. It'd just take a little bit longer, but this is working out pretty nice. Okay, so we just come out of the bed here. Cilantro that bolted, and I didn't get to enjoy hardly any of it. We lost spring for the last 3 or 4 years. We're only 3 season now. We don't have a spring. Spring has left us. But anyway, it started up here in this bed, and then of course my neglect and everything that I was talking about in the previous video, I let it go to seed and it just started to spread. And I've been pulling some of it because it spread all over the place. So it jumped from up there, and when it seeded, it jumped down into this little bed area here, and then now it's jumping down onto the ground level here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull all this stuff in here that's been flowering, and then I'll come along the edge and I'll just pull it up, and we'll throw it with the rest of the stuff, and we're gonna go throw that in compost and liquid fertilizer. This is just some of my chores that I'm doing when it comes to compost and everything. Hardly anything goes to waste around here. Hardly anything. About the only thing wasted around here is sometimes me. I went inside to hydrate a little bit, and been waiting on cloud cover, and I actually got some, so I'm gonna try to finish this thing up. First thing I'm gonna do is, because I had a change of plans, is I'm going to take what I got in my buggy right now, and I'm going to put it into my experimental leaf composting, leaf mold. Let me get a shovel and then I'll explain that in a minute. The reason I'm changing that up is because of my JLF has been pretty consistent on it being, for the most part, unless I'm just having a brain fart or something like that, it has been all comfrey, to my knowledge, on this batch. It has been all comfrey, and I want to keep it that way. So I haven't taken these other 2 comfrey plants. Follow me right here behind me, and I'm gonna save those to put into there, because I think I can fit it in there, because I'm gonna take probably a little bit more than 5 gallons out of this stuff. So this stuff that we got in the cart right now, I'm going to put into this experimental. I'm gonna put some of it into the experimental stuff I got going on in them 2 tubs with just nothing but leaves, and I'll put the rest over in here. I probably don't even have to mess with it. No, that's too much for those 2 tubs, I think, for what I want to do. So that's what I'm going to do. I got 3 different things that I'm going to do with this green manure and the comfrey that I'm looking at behind you. In these 2 containers, because I have video footage of doing it, I just never posted. I got a lot of stuff that I tried to do footage of and never posted it, because I just get aggravated messing with an iPhone 5 and volume and these mics and all this stuff, and I just want to get some shit done, you know what I mean? And so it's difficult to me, and I'm trying not to get aggravated at it. These tubs here, showing you footage now, I'm putting in completely to the rim, full to the top, leaves. And I'm not doing whole leaves. I get the leaves collected together out here in the woods, and I am taking my shredder, my leaf vac blower, And I love that thing because I can just suck up them leaves and they go shredded up into the bag. Sometimes I'll dump the bag into an IBC tote that's empty or something, half one, and I will suck them up again to get a better shredding of those leaves. So that's what I've done with these 2 tubs right here behind me. Then I wanted to try something. If you don't know, I'm into the Jadam natural farming techniques, and along with this natural fertilizer that I do, I also culture the IMOs into what they call JMS, Jadam microbial solution. You're just culturing microbes, and the indigenous microbes that are right here in these woods all around this property. When I watered these leaves in, as I put them in, I wanted to do just water, and I wanted to do one with the JMS, the microbial solution. And I think I put, if I'm not mistaken, about 4 to 6 cups of fresh JMS in there. And if you recall in that video, they say 1 milliliter of that microbial solution can contain up to 1 billion microbes. It is wonderful stuff, and it works. So I wanted to see what would happen if I filled both these things up, cram them packed full of those shredded leaves, and give a little water as I'm filling them up, and then see what the difference was when it comes to the breakdown. That's what the whole experiment is. I know what it looks like in there, and I want to show you there was a difference between using just the water and with the JMS. All right, let's pull the one off with that I did the JMS, and I'm going to start digging in here, and hopefully this will pick up a little bit and just see what's going on. I mean, something's going on because it all broke down, but these guys have not been getting. Holy shit, that is hot on my hands. Sorry for my language. Well, not really, but you might have your dad in the room, and he may not appreciate that. Golly, that's getting hot on my hand. I'm trying to see how much. Try and get down to the bottom here and grab some stuff here. So it's not all that broken down. Pine needles, yeah, that's just going to happen with me because when I'm sucking up leaves with that leaf vac, I'm going to get pine needles in there. So I guess I should disclose that. So that's what I'm looking like. Now, because of the volume has significantly decreased, I'd say on this one well over half. The one with just water, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to put some of this green manure, I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to try and I'm going to get this stuff and I'm going to set it in there on top, and I'm going to pack it in there. It's got some moisture because I just put some water on there last night on top, and that's where the green manure is going to go on these. No holes on the lid if you want to control your water level. Unless you're set up to where you want to collect the tea as it rains, or when you do watering or something like that, that's an option. This other stuff, if I got any left, because I don't think I'm going to get all that manure, that green vegetation in here. Man, that sun's working on that. I don't think I'm going to get it all in here, so what I'll do, I'll take this off. I just put those things on there because the cats love this compost soil development that I always am doing around here, and that just keeps them out from putting their stuff in there. I don't worry about their feces that much like a lot of people do. I don't want it inundated with it, but I also use lactobacillus labs incorporated into my soil making, compost, and stuff like that. Keep the police force out there, and they'll keep things in balance if you're worried about any bad bacteria. I think this stuff here, that is developed beautiful. Wood chips, pine needles, leaves, garden waste, things of that nature. That's all that goes in these tubs. Except for when I mix up clay, I try to incorporate some clay. I show that on my, I I think when I did soil blocks, how I do that for the binding effect. I want clay in here. I want clay. I don't want just composted beautiful stuff. It's beautiful, but I want some clay. I need some binding for those roots. I'm going to take and fill this wheelbarrow up, you know, with this. I'm going to have to shovel it here in this sun, and I'll take the rest of that green manure. I'm going to throw it in there, and I'm going to shovel this stuff that I put in the wheelbarrow back on top, and that's it. Okay. Is it hot out here? Even though I shredded these, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to let that go this summer and see what happens. So I'm going to take care of this, put the rest of this stuff in there, and then I'm going to move on getting rid of the rest of the comfrey into my JLF, or homemade liquid fertilizer. That's what I'm going to do next. Have I mentioned how hot it is out here? Okay, let's take a look at it. There it is. Not everything is submerged. That's all right. All this stuff breaks down anyway. I'll just leave it out here. I'll smooth that a little bit here. And as the sun dries out the top a little bit, I'll give it a little drink. Let me get in the shade. I'm kind of disappointed in my leaf project. It may have just been too much. I really packed them in there. I mean, I really did. So I'll do some thinking about that and meditation, and see where I want to go from there. I'm going to give it a month or two or something like that. And if it's not working out quite like I wanted it to, then what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll start dumping it into IBC totes. I'll spread it around, because when I make my soil blocks, or I'm getting potting soil mixed up for my seed starts in the beginning of the year or season, or anything, or a top dressing, I just take it out of the IBC totes. That's why sometimes I got to replenish a little bit, so it's an ongoing cycle. I don't have to do this very often. It's just when I get a wild hair on my left big toe, I will get on it, you know, and stay motivated. So let's get this other plant cut down, those two huge comfrey plants. I will probably just do a little bit of cutting on there. I don't need to show you that, but because I got a whole video on making that, and I'm going to be doing the same exact process, so I can show you a little bit on the extraction, what I'm going to do this time, because I'm going to do a 5-gallon bucket plus them 2 jugs probably. But I don't want to change the chemistry. I'm confident that I can go a 1-to-10 ratio, or I can do a 50-50 on that stuff, or I haven't tried it yet, but they say you can put it on directly. And me putting my hand in there and it not stinking, that may be very well true, and I might do it on a couple test plants. But I will say, in the Jadam low cost, ultra low cost farming techniques in that book that I showed in that video. Young Sang Cho and his scientists, whatnot, they got laboratories and they've analyzed all this stuff, and they got different things that they have composted down, making into stuff like that, the JLF. But they got analysis reports in that book. Be very handy to get that book, especially if you're trying to come out here and be more self-sustainable and kind of get at least a basic comprehension and understanding of what all this nature around us that we are part of can do for you, and in its various forms. We'll just do this. Much gooder. Okay, now when I made the video on this, I was talking about how much it stinks. And when it depends on what you're putting in there, but if you're using certain items, especially like table scraps and stuff like that, and you're trying to make a homemade fertilizer, when them things start kicking off, it will stink. Okay, so I'm gonna stress to you, don't put it by your back door or something like that. But now that this is stabilized, and I've added into this before a couple times, comfrey and stuff. Look, I'm touching it, rubbing my hands on it. You'll see people that get into this. They got nitrile gloves on and stuff like that. Right now, I got this stuff on my hands, and I can barely smell it. Just barely. So once this stuff is broke down and it's stabilized and neutralized, or whatever they want to call it, I don't have that problem. The microbes took care of everything. But the other thing I do is, if I do have a little stinkage or something, but I do it anyway, I incorporate a little bit of lactobacillus. In something like this, I might put if I did a fresh batch of the serum, you'd have to look at those videos. It's somebody else's. If you want to check mine out, you can, on how I go about it. On something like this, I might put like a 1/4 cup of the serum in here. If I was, or it'll be a variation. If I got my 20-to-1 ratio of the lactobacillus that I make, the beneficial bacteria, and it's that 20-to-1 ratio, I might put a full cup in here or something like that. It just keeps things in balance. But all the microbes and everything that come from this property, I'm not worried about all that other stuff. This is the benefit of just going more sustainable, organic, and natural type gardening. I'm going to cut up that comfrey there, and it's going to get put down in there. If it needs more water, I'm going to add a little bit more water. But I'm going to have plenty of fertilizer out here, because what my plan is I'm going to be probably doing some spot feeding in my garden for my friend that's doing some planting out here, and me too. I'm involved. So if you found anything, seen anything that might be edifying or beneficial to anyone, just pass it along, share it. Pass the information or knowledge, do your own experiments, and you learn this kind of stuff. This is just my way of going about doing things, because it's usually more efficient for me in terms of chores and stuff like that. I've kind of been putting it out there today, but I'm just trying to get done. I wanted to go to the creek, and that ain't going to happen today. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I know it's long-winded, but have a nice day. May all your branches become full of fruit, and I will try to catch you on the next one. Hurrah!